Did you know there's a handful of people actually run everything? That's true. It's provable. Not
it's all about control. To them we just cattle. Numbers battling each other while they creeping in the shadows. Scheming, plotting, clocking your every move. Locked in your mind, brainwashed until it's rocking. Got the population operating as they want them. Symbolically mocking them, thinking nothing can stop them. So open your eyes to the lies of the evil. The poison in the minds and the lives of your people. And every time they lead you down the line to deceive you, and by then it's always too late to see through the veil that they hide behind. Cause your third eye is blind. Better take a stand. We're running out of time. Ain't nobody coming to save us. Fuck what you had in mind. Arm yourself with the truth and jump behind the battle line. Can we turn it around? Yeah, it's possible. The virus will fall. We're united, we're unstoppable. The world. This is for the masses. Attached to the strings being pulled by puppet masters. This is for the youth. Searching for the proof. Keep on looking for the clues. I'll provide you with some truth. This is for the ones waking up from the spell. Beginning to discover themselves. Yeah, this is for the youth. Searching for the truth. Keep on looking for the clues. I'll provide you with some proof. Hey, yo, the stage is set. The game is rigged. The system isn't broken. It was designed.
Okay, welcome back to Beagle Eye Visions. I just spilled some W all over my notebook. That's okay. You live and you learn. Welcome back. It's been a while. What month is it? It is September, right? September 1st. The 1st of September. We have a very special treat. Or I guess I do. Me and the Beagles, they're down here roaming around. You can probably hear them clacking around the kitchen, the hardwood kitchen floor. But anyways, welcome back. This book has been quite the journey. It took me a lot of time to finish it because it was a lot of rereading, a lot of going back and looking in, doing reflection. You know, a lot of in and out of the dictionary. But I'm getting too ahead of myself. I'm going to stick to the notes. I really need to stick to my notes. Awesome. I just woke up recently, so I'm still getting some W. First caffeine of the day, and that song was called "Puppet Masters" by Joe Murray. He is a legend. He knows what he's doing when it comes to hip hop, and he writes real hip hop, higher infinite power, healing our people. But I already talked about that in the Mark Devlin. You know, the Mark Devlin Musical Truth Book reviews. So let's get into Babylon's Banksters by Joseph P. Oh, that sounds good. Hope it's not too loud. There we go. So we're doing laundry back there, right behind the camera, so hopefully you guys don't hear it. Hopefully it sounds good. Mark Passio just had an interview with the Sound Path to Freedom with Jerry. I forget how to pronounce her last name. That was an amazing interview. Mark Passio got us all up in the, you know, like as he says, the freedom community. He got us all fired up, I'm pretty sure. Hopefully I wasn't the only one. But anyways, fantastic interview. At the time of this recording, Sound Path to Freedom has already happened. So I'll leave a link to Sound Path to Freedom in the description of this video because it is taking place on August 31st in Pennsylvania. I wish I had a vehicle. I wish I could afford to go. It would have been an epic. I bet it's going to be. I bet it is. I bet it has been, because I'm recording before the event has happened. I bet it has been an epic event. You know, a lot of good music, a lot of freedom-oriented minds, a lot of you know, truth speakers, love seekers. No. All right. I need to stop getting distracted. I need to drink more W though too. I got this awesome W shirt. I'm matching today. I got the W Cup shirt matching duo combo nation today. Alright, these notes, this book review is not for, like, do not just pick this book up if you haven't read a book in 10 years. This is not that kind of book. This is for the astute researcher, the astute students who are dedicated to this work, who have been dedicated to this work. I'm talking, like, if you've already read a Manly P. Hall book, you can read this book. If you've already read, you know, like, if you already read The Most Dangerous Superstition by Larkin Rose, go check out the Beagle Eye Vision book review, and then you can read this book. You know, that's this is not 1984. This is not a Brave New World. This is a book that takes research. You need to have like a certain set of skills to be, to be able to read this book. Like, you need to have a vast amount of knowledge and research and work under your belt in order for you to understand. Like, and I'm saying that for myself because there are chapters that gets into metaphysics and into very deep geometry, sacred geometry. We're going to get into it. I don't even understand that, and I read books like, not flexing, it's unfortunate that I read books more than most people because I'm just a 30-year-old stoner. But anyways, we're going to get into the book. We're actually, let's start with the notes. I need to stop distracting myself. But this is, thank you so much if you made it this far. This book is a doozy. We're going to get deep today. And the sun is shining, right? The sun just gave us some vitamin D vibes in here. This is amazing. Perfect timing. All right. I remember picking up this book during the scamdemic. Yes, the scamdemic. When I lived in Marion, Indiana, otherwise known as Grant County. It didn't take me long to read this book, but I didn't understand the depth of it. I discovered it through one of Santos Bonacci's presentations on Theology. I'll leave a few links to Santos's his presentations in the description of this video. I watched the presentation many times over, especially during the scandemic. Oh my god, I watched that presentation so many times. I was trying to like analyze every single sentence of that presentation. That presentation that I'm talking about, that I'll put in the link, is a phenomenal presentation. It's mind-blowing. This presentation will change your life. It's so good. It's such good work. Santos Bonacci's earlier work is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Chef's kiss. Phenomenal. Shout out to Santos Bonacci and Mark Passio and Sound Path to Freedom. We'll get into that later. Yeah, like I said, I watched the presentation many times over, and I never paid any attention to what's going on here. I never paid any attention to any of the books that Santos he mentions. So one day I was watching the presentation. He was like, check out this book, Babylon's Banksters. You know, like Santos Bonacci's awesome accent. Babylon's the Banksters. You're gonna learn the secrets to the Vatican. The Vatican? You're gonna. I love you, Santos. It's all in good fun. But his accent. So I wrote this one down for some reason. I was just like, it stood out to me. Babylon's Banksters. I listen to a lot of reggae music. Babylon's Banksters. Write that one down. So I wrote it down in my notes somewhere, and I ordered it. It was freaking. Never regretted it. Never regretted it. This is the second time I've read this book. Phenomenal. 10 out of 10 book. I'm going to say that again. The author, Dr. Joseph P. Farrell, he's a doctor. He's got his doctorate. He was born in South Dakota, and he earned a doctorate in patristics from Oxford. He's written over 25 books. This man's written over 25 books. And people still aren't reading books. That's the sad part. Like, this guy's written over 25 books. How many books have you personally read in the last year? Like, what? 4? 5? No, I'm just kidding. I gotta give you some stuff. There aren't enough people reading books, and it's obvious. It's depressingly obvious. Earned a doctorate, phenomenal research. This man is an unsung hero because he has made the dots, he has made the connections, he's made the books. I don't know if he has any podcasts or any like presentations or anything like that, but I think that's kind of cool. Like, hey, if you got books and that's all you have, you're still doing better than most people as far as on the scale of how awake of a human being you are. So anyways. The preface, getting in the preface, or how do you pronounce that? Preface? 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 I don't know. At the second page of the preface, the author tells us the thesis of this book. Now there's going to be a lot of quotes, a lot of heavy quotes, because like I said, I barely understand this book. It's really deep. So we're going to use a lot of quotes, so I can show you guys how deep this rabbit hole goes, okay? Getting to the first quote. The thesis of this book is both simple to state and difficult to understand, and that is that since ancient times, and with more or less uninterrupted constancy, there has existed an international money power which seeks by a variety of means, including fraud, deception, assassination, and war, to usurp the money, the creating power of the various states as sought to dominate and to obfuscate and occult the profound connection between that money-creating power and the deep alchemical physics that such power implies. Direct quote from page 20. Not even getting into chapter 1. This dude's litting off deep words that I just now learned in the past 4 years. You know, none of these words I've learned in my career of public education. I have not learned a single one of these words, especially obfuscate or occult or alchemical physics. None of those words are in the public educational dictionary. I promise you that, and that is a fact. If there's any facts that are going to be said on this book review today, that is one of them. Why isn't public education teaching occult, obfuscation, money-creating power, or alchemical physics? Asking for a friend. I don't... W's got me lit. From there, we learn of a formula that was a gift to all of the financial manipulators. The formula was developed by mathematician Dr. David X. Lee, known as a Gaussian copula function. The rest of the prologue explains how Hitler rose to power in Germany. Or to power. Wow, the way I wrote that, I'm confusing myself. How Hitler rose Germany to power through issuing currency, not by borrowing from other entities or other financial entities, and issuing debt-based currency. Hitler rose Germany through power by issuing currency as receipts for goods or services. This closes on a profoundly powerful quote that everyone needs to hear. The problem with money is thus not even the what nor the how much, but the who, i.e. the who behind its issuance. The first model is a kind of false alchemy, or a technology of black magic, for it is ultimately a technology to gain the mastery over the will, genius, and productive activity of a people, and ultimately over the physical medium itself. And it is all based, as we shall now see, this is not a quote, especially in modern days, I'm adding this, on a breathtaking series of historical, conceptual, and physical deceptions. And these can only exist so long as there are those unwilling to unmask the deception, or so long as there are those who acquiesce to that system and are unwilling to free themselves from its chains. Page 41. People in the freedom community have been talking about this problem for decades. For decades. Let me say that again. From the quote, it is all based, as we shall see, on a breathtaking series of historical, conceptual, and physical deceptions, and these can only exist. Listen to, I'm going to say it again. These can only exist so long as there are those unwilling to unmask the deception, or so long as there are those who acquiesce to that system and are unwilling to free themselves from its chains. That is a very important quote. I mean, Mario West talks about it. Larkin Rose talks about it. Passio talks about it. Mark Devlin talks about it. Will Keller talks about it. Logan Hart talks about it. So many Leslie Powers, Chris Jantzen. There's so many great modern minds talking about this topic, and nobody is listening. Nobody is listening, especially the people who are making the money. You know, the people who are making the money off of the hard work of the backs of the, you know, the regular Americans like me or you. You know, the people who are subscribed to this channel. Nobody's paying attention to these minds. Nobody's listening to these voices. And it is deplorable. So, again, shout out to all these names that I just mentioned and Mark Passio, and especially to the author who has the eyes to see. Let me give a shout out. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Great stuff. And we didn't even get to chapter 1 yet. My W's almost gone, so I need to really hammer this book review out so I can go watch the new Twisted Metal episodes. Really, Squirt? You had to add that, Squirt Dog? Really? Snoop Dogg, what are you doing? What are you doing? Snoopy, I'm going to give you a guest appearance. Stay right there. Stay right there. You can show your belly. I can't scratch it right now. I'm going to give you a guest appearance on this Babylon's Banksters review. You look so handsome. You look so handsome, Snoop Dogg. You look so handsome. Snoop Dogg's godmother, Picklehead, is not here in the house. I think she picked up a shift and she had to go to work. She had to make more money. She had to go to work, make more money to get more dog food. And help the banksters out, you know, like paying taxes. So part 1, historical and conceptual background. Chapter 1, the conspirators post-war detente. No, I don't think I said that word correctly. Detente. Oh, detente. Post-war detente. Detente, the easing of hostility or strained relations, especially between countries. Hey! Hey! Squirt! Okay. Detente, the easing of hostility or strained relations, especially between countries. Chapter 1 gets into a historical event between two powers going sour, and this war fusing into a covert war, which still goes on today, to establish a monopoly of high financial economics to enslave mankind. Let me say that again, Squirt. Shut the F up. A historical event between two powers going sour in this war, fusing into a covert war to establish a monopoly of high financial economics to enslave mankind. And it's a fact. Their goal is to enslave mankind, and it's working. Another interesting topic of discussion is the formation of the Bilderberg Group, which I understand some will look at as conspiracy candy. Don't do that. Don't be a child. Don't be naive. Okay? Don't get the naivete out of your head. Many highly intellectual researchers have discussed this group in great detail, so if you take this as mere conspiracy, you are extremely naive. The word conspiracy comes from the Latin word conspirare, which means to breathe together. The prefix con means together. The verb spirare means to breathe. So conspiracy literally means to breathe together. So when you tell me that something is a conspiracy theory, you're telling me it's a theory about coming together to breathe? Like, study your linguistics. Don't use you keep using that word, and I don't think you understand. I don't think it means what you think it means. I haven't watched Princess Bride in a long time. Okay, give me a break. Give me a break. Sorry. The plot picks up when the author tells us about a man named Daniel Estelin, an author who wrote The True Story of the Bilderberg Group, another book. I need to add that to the list. The True Story of the Bilderberg Group, among many others. This man has been able to infiltrate the group and discover some of the goals and its ultimate secrets. Okay, the attendance list is like an Ari Gold call sheet. For those of you who are subscribed to the channel, Ari Gold is I did a book review on Ari Gold this past year. Last summer I did a book review. Hey! Go lay down! This man has been able to infiltrate the group, discover its goals, secrets. The attendance list of the Bilderberg group is like Ari Gold's call sheet. The biggest moneymakers in the entire planet attend these secret meetings that the public seemingly has no knowledge of. Industrialists, financiers, military professionals, lawyers, journalists, doctors, David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, Tony Blair, Melinda and Bill Gates, chairman of Coca-Cola, the Clintons, you name it, anyone involved with the government in any capacity will be there. Alphabet Soups, CIA, FBI, the chairman of CIA. Okay, I think you get it. The who's who of elite people who want to control your life are going to these Bilderberg groups, and I still, I didn't do research, I still think these secret meetings definitely for sure go on today. It might be under a different name now. You know, they always change the name. That when people start learning and actually start paying attention, you know, they always switch the name up. That's how Hitler got into power. Literally by switching. Never mind. Whole other rabbit hole. Okay, we're still going. Here's another quote directly from the book. The host national government takes care of all the security concerns of the attending guest and their entourage. It also pays the cost of military protection, the Secret Service, national and local police presence, as well as additional private security to protect the intimacy and the privacy of the all-powerful world elite. Now think about how much money all this would cost. Local and national police presence. You know how much money these guys are making and dishing out just to have this one secret meeting? Who foots the bill? The hosting government. Where does the money come from? The workers. We pay for these psychopathic turds to have secret meetings amongst each other about how they are going to control us. This is written from an insider who has been at the meetings. This isn't Alex Jones or your average YouTuber. You know, this isn't, Beagle Eye Vision. This isn't Beagle Eye Vision. This is somebody who's going to these meetings. Estiland continues. The attendees are not required to follow the established rules and regulations of the host country, such as having to go through customs, carrying proper identification such as passports, which are not required on Bilderberg visits. When they meet, nobody who is not on the inn is allowed to come near the hotel. The elite often bring their own chefs, cooks, waiters, secretaries, telephone operators, busboys, cleaning staff, and security personnel. That's a direct quote from page 6. That was from Estiland's, what's his name? David Estiland's book. The guy who wrote the Bilderberg book. So, when I think of a meeting like this, there's a scene in a movie called Public Enemies by, it's got Johnny Depp in it, and Public Enemies, it's about mobsters robbing banks, right? Robbing the Banksters. There's a scene in that movie where, what's the main mobster name? The entire movie of Public Enemy is about. Johnny Depp's character, he goes into this meeting with a high financier, a guy who's a made man in the mob. They have a meeting together and they go in this room that's they go through a casino or something like that. They go through this, it's literally in a back door in a back room. There's all these people on phones having connection. It's the creation of stock. The creation of stockbrokers, and the mob had a tie in it. So when I heard that quote, that's the scene that pops up in my head. This all sounds like something out of the young James Bond novels I recently reviewed. Some terrorist backdoor, like I said, some backdoor mafia. Made man. Hey, you do a favor for me, I do a favor for you. Okay, hey. This weird secret meetings. This is terrorism. These guys, these Bilderbergs, these are the real terrorists. These guys are the real enemies. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you call me a crazy conspiracy tinfoil hat guy. I don't care. These guys are our real enemies. The guys who are having secret meetings about how they can control your finances and what they're going to do with your finances. through paying to. It's like these guys are who we need to be paying attention to. You know, or put them on a noose. I don't. Either one. Somebody needs to be doing something. The chapter ends on going on pointing out the deepening relationship between America, Europe, and Germany during World War II, making some truly interesting and disheartening connections. So, chapter 2, President Hoover's hidden legacy and gift. The second chapter, from what I can understand, is a large gathering of data and charts to develop a cycle that can be measured, observed, studied, and predicted. The types of organizations that are studying these cycles and their goals of these organizations. This is a dense chapter that references multiple books and researchers. I didn't do many notes because, like I said, chapter 2 it goes really depth, especially into Hoover's, you know, the hidden legacy, the gift, President Hoover. Really deep stuff. There's a lot of historical ties, a lot of historical events that this book ties into, which makes it a really good, fascinating read. Chapter 3, Germany, RCA, and J.P. Morgan. This chapter continues the depth of geometry and math in relationship to various cycles. Section A of the chapter, called Planetary Alignments and Signal Propagation, is where I started really getting curious. Going back to the early... Is that 1950? Squirt! Go lay down! Jesus, freaking dancing out here. I'm trying to do a book review. Is where I was getting curious. Going back to the early 1950s when the RCA company, the corporation, with the logo of an obedient dog listening to the record player, you know, go back and look at that early RCA logo. RCA stands for the Radio Corporation of America, by the way. The Radio Corporation got one of their engineers, J.H. Nelson, to study why signal propagation strength and weakness seem to vary according to periodic cycles. Going even deeper with topics like rotating plasmas, thermonuclear fusion, hydrogen bombs, stars, and even zero-point energy, highly intellectual content, and deep science. Like I said, this book goes insanely deep. Going even deeper with oh wait, no, I already read that. From there we go into the legend of all legends. Let me give a shout out to my man before I even say his name. The legend of all legends, and why he posed such a big problem to the greedy elites, Nikola Tesla, and his mission in Colorado Springs. Squirt! Sorry, this is Beagle Eye Vision. Welcome. I know I don't have like I don't have a room to record. I don't own an entire house. In fact, I don't even rent a house. I don't even, like I said earlier, I don't even own a car. So sorry if my content isn't up to your standards, and if you think that my dogs are too distracting for you, and my content isn't up to your standards, I really don't care. If you don't want to hear dogs walking around and dancing in the kitchen, go find somebody else's channel, because quite frankly, who else is talking about this book? Look it up. Look up who reviewed this book review. I bet there's probably 4 other people who have done a book review on this book. But yeah. Anyways, let me restart this album by the Funky Fathers. By the way, I freaking love the Funky Fathers album. Where was I at? Why Nikola Tesla posed such a big problem to the greedy elites, Nikola Tesla and his mission in Colorado Springs. The author quotes Tesla directly from his letter titled Transmission of Electrical Energy Without Wires. An experiment where Tesla was trying to conduct electricity using planet Earth as the conductor. J.P. Morgan was Tesla's lead financier on the project. That was a fascinating little tidbit. Reading about Tesla's experiments and what he was working on was, I was flipping pages through that chapter. I blew through that chapter so fast. Chapter 3. Where were we at? Leading up to the events of a phenomenon known as the Tunguska event, which makes a time which marks a time on June 30th, 1908, where a massive explosion flattened 500,000 acres of land in Russia. Chapter 3 ends with Tesla being questioned on trial about his invention at Wardenclyffe in New York. It is fascinating to read this man describing his invention. The author cites all of his resources in case you want to explore farther. This book is bussin'. Let me give another shout out to Dr. Joseph P. Farrell. This book is bussin'. This book is so freaking good. I'm almost finished with my W here. All right. Almost done. Almost wrapped up. I know I've been blowing through this book. I have not been taking my time. There's a lot of distractions. I don't know what time people get off work, so I don't know, there's not a whole lot of communication in this house. So I don't know, like, if somebody's going to come home from work and, like, walk through the door and make dogs, but, I got to hurry up. And we're going to go watch Twisted Metal, as a unit. We've been watching the Twisted Metal as the episodes have been coming out together. It's been super epic. It's been making me super happy. We've been consuming some cannabis while watching Twisted Metal. It's been epic. Freaking love the Twisted Metal show, by the way. Shout out to the Twisted Metal show. But anyways, back to the book. Chapter 4, Temples, Templates, and Trust. The ancient roots of a deep relationship. Again, the depth of this chapter is not the easiest to understand for a 30-year-old stoner, but I managed to work my way through the entire book. If I can do it, you can do it. Your mom can do it. Anybody, you don't have to go to college to read books, guys. If you know how to read, you should be utilizing this fantastic tool that everybody uses every day. We read every day, whether you realize it or not, whether you're subconscious, whether you're, most people are asleep, so most people are not conscious of how often they read. If you click this video, you probably read my shit, my shirt, Like, people read. You need to read. Read more. You read every day. It's a natural part of your life. So you might as well just, dive into it. Read more. Read more books. Stop reading Facebook. Again, the depth of this chapter is not the easiest to understand for a 30-year-old stoner. My impression is the author is trying to teach how the monopoly of gold came about. Now that sounds confusing, I know. And if it sounds confusing, that's because it is. How do you get a monopoly on gold? How does that work? He explains it fantastically. Silver coins were more popular because silver was easier and less costly to mine. The idea of creating this monopoly is to gain the ability to mine a precious metal and be the only one that has access to it, devaluing all other currency and using fear of scarcity to get the people to desire the new currency, right? Rome did this by creating a relationship between the church and state. The priests get the responsibility of making the gold and stamping the gold, or the gold coins, or the bars, however they're doing it. Then with the state seal, making the coins, or like whatever they're issuing, more valuable. Any other coin is considered heretic money, or basically blasphemous. Yeah, whatever happened to the separation of church and state, right? Eventually, everyone started using the Roman currency over the others through fear and manipulation. And I think this, in hindsight, because I did a recent review of the video game Fallout New Vegas, and this is what the NCR tries to do, right? The NCR creates a currency, and the NCR currency is not, it's worth less than what everybody uses in the wasteland, which is, everybody knows, the bottle caps, right? So the NCR is trying to establish their own currency, which will do away with the bottle caps, and it will basically help the NCR, because if everybody starts using the NCR's currency, that obviously boosts the NCR's government, which NCR is the allegory. The allegory of the NCR is just more government, which is anybody that supports the NCR. I don't understand why, if the government wipes itself out, why would you want more government to take its place? That doesn't, so more bombs can get dropped? Like, pay attention, people. But anyways, that's my using Fallout, a video game, to describe how currency gets taken. I hope that helped. Probably not. Read the book. The citizens were told that the state currency had the blessing of the church. very convoluted, very convoluted. It's very difficult to understand. You know, that's why there's literal college courses on economics, because it's you know, it's not a walk in the park. Then the author takes us through the history of Rome and touching on some Jewish history, culminating into a sense of magic and a power of gemstones. Again, anybody, if you don't study, if you don't read books, you're going to be like, a sense of magic? What are you talking about? Magic is real. It exists. There is a form of magic that exists in the human genome. Study it, read books, observe it, and you will understand. That will if you study and research, that will demystify that sentence I just said. Culminating into a sense of magic and the power of gemstones. Like, yeah. People who don't read books are going to hear that sentence and be like, okay, I'm shutting the video off. This guy's absolutely lost his mind. But, again, if you don't know, you don't know. If you don't try to know, if you don't understand, I forget the quote. If you don't understand the workings of your own house, how are you? Never mind. I'm gonna fascinating stuff. I really need to get copies of his other books. This, like I said, he's got over 25 other books. His other books are definitely on the list, unwritten list of book reviews that I want to do. Fascinating work. Chapter 5. We're almost done here. Chapter 5. Money, monotheism, monarchies, and militaries. Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty, the real truth, which is that the Federal Reserve has power over the government. The author is still gathering data and giving us the real empirical evidence of not only the why, but also how this happened. And that is a fact. The Federal Reserve has power over the U.S. government. Again, if you don't study, if you don't read books, if you don't do any research, then you don't understand that. And that's like day one stuff. Understanding that is literally like day one stuff. Like, where have you been at, bro? It's 2025, man. But also the house. So now this is where I pull out the book and get to the first quote in here, because it's very important and worth noting. So, through stealthy issue of precious metal commodity money into circulation amongst the peoples, replacing that money which represented the fiat of will of the God and the city, and which was merely an order on the state warehouses through his scribes. This internationally minded group of the secrecy of their chambers were able to make a mockery of the faith and belief of the simple people. Now, I know jumping right into that's confusing, but you got to read the whole book. In other words, excuse me. In other words, at a certain juncture, and by the nature of the case, there will be two monies in circulation. One created by a private group and based on bullion, commodity money issued as a facsimile of the state money for which it can be traded and substituted. And the second, the original state-issued money. It should be noted that this situation is almost exactly paralleled in modern times by the issuance of state money and private notes in England and in the United States. Now here's a little footnote that is important to read too. Consider only the fact that in the United States, since the establishment of the Federal Reserve System, there were initially several types of paper notes in circulation. The state's silver and gold certificates and United States bills, and the private bank's Federal Reserve notes. I remember when those existed when I was younger. They did away with them as I got older, but I remember like people did have multiple currencies when I was really young. It should also be noted that this is issued. It should also be noted that it is now all but impossible to find any of the former notes in general circulation. Yep, that is very true. Since the Federal Reserve makes it a policy to pull and destroy any bills that are not the interest-bearing debt notes, it does not issue privately. And since collectors, knowing this, themselves often pull such notes for their collections or to sell to other collectors. So this is, at the beginning of the book, it talks about Germany rose to power through issuing currency as receipts for work and for goods issued. But they did away with that by issuing currency that is a debt-based currency, which is what we have nowadays. All of our currency, if you read any dollar bill, it says this currency is, I forget exactly what, I wish I had a dollar. This currency is, it tells you, it's interest debt-based currency. It says it right on the dollar bill. If you read and pay attention, again, if you read and pay attention, you have to read. It's so freaking important to read, people. You gotta read. Yeah, again, a very powerful, very interesting quote. It's intense when you come to the realization of how this scheme works, even in modern times, as the author says. Another epic quote is from Benjamin Franklin himself. My man's. I think he was kind of cool. He was an interesting dude. He liked to smoke weed in the nude, you know. That's something I wish I could do, but I live in 2025. I can't really do that. It's kind of weird. Also, I don't. It's in the middle of summertime. Maybe in the winter I probably will get back into consuming. Never mind. I've had enough tangents for this book review. Quote at the bottom of page 226. Yes, okay, so this is from Benjamin Franklin, the man himself. Benjamin Franklin himself. In the colonies, we issue our own money. It is called colonial scrip. Yeah, that's a fact. Study your history, people. We issue it to pay the government's approved expenses and charities. We make sure it is issued in proper proportions to make the goods pass easily from products to consumers. In this manner, creating for ourselves our own paper money, we control its purchasing power and we have no interest to pay anyone. You see, a legitimate government can spend both and lend money into circulation, while banks can only lend significant amounts of their promissory banknotes. Let me read that again. While banks can only lend significant amounts of their promissory banknotes. So this was before the Federal Reserve had power over the government. This is when the government had power over the Federal Reserve back in those days. For they can neither give away nor spend a tiny fraction of the money people need. Thus, when your banks here in England place money in circulation, there is only a debt principal to be returned and usury to be paid. The result is that you have always too little credit in circulation to give workers full employment. You do not have too many workers, you have too little money in circulation, and that which circulates all bears the endless burden of unpayable debt and usury. So, if you look back, for an example, think back to the scandemic, right when we got our houses locked down, when our houses turned into modern day prisons and we weren't allowed to leave our house. So, right when that happened, the president started issuing because nobody was working. All the businesses got shut down. So that meant that the role was reversed. There wasn't enough money in circulation to pay the workers, basically, because to this day our finances are in a faith-based, interest, debt-bearing currency. So when that happened, all the businesses shut down. The government literally had to give us money to put back into circulation because nobody was working. The entire world got shut down, and it was a plan. They've been planning that. Like, even in this book, it says the Great Depressions were planned, which I'm going to get into that. But anyways, that's just an example, and that's why that happened. That's why they had to issue out them checks. And they were like, oh, we had to do another stimulus. We got to stimulate the economy because nobody's spending money. Nobody's working. And so if you don't have people working, you don't have people spending money. It's like, it's really confusing. It's just another reason why I hate money. Money is so stupid. Going even deeper, the author reminds us how the Great Depressions were created coincidentally after a post-war depression. The depressions of 1789 and 1870 were pre-planned events created by the banksters who understood that if the United States stayed under one nation, if the states actually stayed united, stayed under one nation, under the power of America, if we stayed United States, the power of America would have been tenfold. nowadays, due to this genius plan, America has virtually no power, and we are all wage slaves to the Federal Reserve, just like our founding fathers predicted all those years ago. Another fantastic section tells us of how the deaths of President Abraham Lincoln and President President Garfield, and the why and how these two presidents created fierce enemies, which ultimately got them assassinated. Once the book was finished, I rewatched Mark Passio's Two Masks, Same Face, The Dark Occult Origins of Nazism and Communism. And he gets into Germany and how Germany got into power. And there were some connections the book made and some names mentioned in that presentation that made it easier to understand everything in this book right here. Putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. So the author, when you first read the 4 chapters, you're confused. You have no idea what's going on. The author is just collecting data. He's just trying to, collecting data, collecting evidence, like I said, and he's giving us the foundation so it helps us to understand. So by the time you get to the end of the book, you see the entire completed puzzle. You have all these, okay, here's a piece of data, here's a piece of data, here's a piece of history that happened over here, here's what happened to Nikola Tesla, and near the end of the book you're just putting all these pieces together, and you're making all these connections, and then you see the entire puzzle. And especially if you are an astute researcher, like I said, if you watch Santos Bonacci's presentations, if you study these presentations made by these absolute legends, if you study the presentation made by Mark Passio, it just makes you gain more pieces of the puzzle, and you get a bigger, you finish this puzzle over here, which you read this book. Right? Read this book, fit that puzzle over here. Watch the presentation, here's another puzzle. And then eventually you just connect it all together and it comes into a culmination of understanding, and it's a beautiful thing, and it gets you fired up. That's why I have so much energy for this book review, not because of Davi, but also because it's just the way that this book presents itself, and the way that the author takes you through, history and makes all these connections. It's just phenomenal. It's 10 out of 10. And even if you don't understand economics, if you're like me, I never could afford to go to college. I never graduated high school. If you're like me, you don't understand the depth of it or the sacred geometry, but the average person, you can still make the connections, right? And that's what it's all about, is trying to gain an understanding is, that's all you can do. And then once you do that, you gain an understanding, you can really understand why we're all slaves, right? And it's a bleak realization, but it's important, right? You have a moral obligation to read these books and to understand the why, because if you don't understand it, we'll never be able to get out of it, right? We'll never be able to get out of one of the founding fathers said, the banksters will take over until our children's wake up homeless on the land that our founding fathers built, the land that our generations before us have built. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. Richard Grove, another shout out. Richard Grove does a fantastic job of explaining the finances, especially if you watch Grand Theft World. An amazing podcast. Just look up Grand Theft World anywhere. Type it up in a search engine, it'll pop up. But Grand Theft World by Richard Grove, phenomenal work. He really does. He went to school for this stuff like Jay Dyer did. He really has a deeper understanding of the economics and the deep stuff. But anyways, I'm very excited. Thank you for so much if you made it this far. I really gotta use the restroom, but I want to give another shout out to, well, actually before I get there, the next book is going to be October, right? If you follow the channel, every October, H.P. Lovecraft, baby. H.P. Lovecraft! So, Let me put that bad boy right there. H.P. Lovecraft is going to be next. I don't know which story it's going to be. Maybe called Cthulhu. I got to go back and see what previous stories I've done already from H.P. Lovecraft, and then decide from there. And then November, I might do a special if I can get work in time. If I can get back to work, I have a punk rock show booked. Oh yeah. I have a punk rock show. Let me promote that here. If you're in the Indianapolis area, come hang out. Beagle Eye Vision's got a punk rock show. Beagle Eye Visions. I'm gonna be shooting the event, of course. Gonna be making some music videos, making some live recordings. Friday, September 5th. Okay, Friday, September 5th. Come out to Idle Park. Punk show, you won't forget. Anarchive is a punk rock / art magazine. The PBS for punk rock and art. Its ultimate goal is to inspire artists and musicians to work together to help lift each other up. Every town's creative scene is important regardless of where it may be located. And Anarchive encompasses just that, community. Check out the next issue, which we'll be promoting at the show. Come check out the Rumble, Safety Off, and the Steves while they punk it up in the park. I will be opening up the show, Dead and on Sarah, with an acoustic guitar. We'll be playing some music. Come check out the Rumble, Safety Off, the Steves. The Steves are absolute legends. Shout out to the Steve. Bring a blanket or a chair, some drinks, maybe a picnic. Come jam out to some legendary punk and catch some legendary Idol vibes here in Indianapolis. Indianapolis, Indiana. Idol Vibes at Idle Park is what it's called. And I do want to give a Sound Path to Freedom is another event. Sound Path to Freedom, I already mentioned it, August 31st, so it already happened. But, where is it? It's a free online event, so if you're just chilling, if you gotta do the dishes, go ahead and throw the Sound Path to Freedom live stream. I'll put it in the link of this video. Join us in celebrating first of its kind Truth and Freedom Music Festival. Goes right along with this book review too, by the way. It's going to be in Pennsylvania, August 31st, 8 to 11. So it already passed, but I'll leave a link to that in the description, as well as Santos Bonacci's presentations, Mark Passio's presentations. I'm giving you guys so much for absolutely free. No commercials. Giving you guys all these tools to help you understand. H.P. Lovecraft is the next book review. And then after that, in November, dude, Chris Jantzen, thank you, Chris Jantzen. He hooked me up, bro. He hooked me up with these beautiful stickers. I'll probably give them out at the skate park. Probably give out some Dubby samples, you know. Next time I go to the skate park, summer's coming to a close, so me and Squirt Dog are gonna have to go to the skate park here soon. End Evil Podcast. I want to give a shout out. endevil.life, a fantastic website. I paid $45 to get this book and another book that I'm going to do a book review on the other one, but the one that I think is important because this one just came out, right? This is a modern book. If you really want to help the freedom community, this is a perfect way to do it. Chris Jantzen came out with his first book, the book that changed my life. Chris Jantzen, forward by Will Keller. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Let me come up there. Since I'm about to shut the camera off, let me look at this. I mean, this is gorgeous, dude. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Would you just look at it? Gorgeous artwork. DIY. I mean, I don't know if it's DIY, but forward by Will Keller. Two legends, man. Like, absolute legends. Look, he put a little motivating note there. I'm super pumped. Super pumped to get into that. But October is H.P. Lovecraft season, so make sure you watch your H.P. Lovecraft movies. The Color Out of Space with Nicolas Cage. Fantastic allegory. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. I'm super pumped. Super freaking pumped. Thank you so much if you made it this far. If you want to support the channel, use code BeagleEyeVision without the S at w.gg for 10% off your purchase. Get yourself one of these 6 shirts, bro. Get yourself 10% off this. This shirt is silky smooth too, by the way. Maybe don't support that. I have 6 referrals on W, but I haven't made a single dollar. So maybe if you really want to support the channel, just cash out Beagle Eye. A lot of good events coming up. Freedom Under Natural Law 6 is coming out 2026 in February, I think. Dude, I'm pumped, man. I'm freaking pumped. So I'm gonna close out on the Founding Fathers. I'm gonna close out on the Founding Fathers because this music does not get me slapped with copyright. So we do not consent. Let that close out the video. Thank you so much, man. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Read more books. I'm gonna use the restroom. Snoopy! Snoopy, come here! Snoop Dogg! Hey! Snoopy! Come here, Snoopy. Come here. Snoopy, come here. Come here. I almost forgot about the Snoop Dogg cameo. Come on. Hey, Snoopy, come here. Come here, buddy. Oh, don't bonk your head on the table. Jeez. You gotta get your precision right, brother. Okay, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. You guys keep barking. You guys keep barking. Almost forgot about Snoop Dogg cameo. Anyways, keep having a good day. Beagle Eye Vision signing off.